maybe some of these teams have found some holes, found some gaps, and maybe we didn't see before, we didn't see last year, and maybe it's time for G1 to exploit some of those weaknesses.
Well, as we look at this series layout, you can see the lay of the land between these two teams. CTF Argyle is always going to throw a little bit of a spanner in the works as it's new, but I will say both of these teams have been putting a lot of practice into it. When it comes to actual map records, there's a couple of maps they've not played yet on land so far. King of the Hill Recharge will be one of them. But as we look at Imperium Slayer, I think this is a really good chance for G1. G1 have got a 2-0 record at the moment, some big victories so far this tournament, and Optic have looked shaky in Slayers, even actually in their championship-winning tournament, they looked shaky in Slayers. That's where they had their least success. King of the Hill was great, Stronghold's amazing, Oddball sometimes flawless, but Slayers is where teams were just being able to get under the Optic armor. And if G1 are going to take down Optic, I feel like it has to be in that game 2, and then potentially that game 5.
Now, one thing we could speak about is Optic obviously won the last 2 majors of last year. They are now the defending world champions. Is it a case of they could get a little bit complacent here, and perhaps they're not as hungry as they were last year, and maybe they'll leave a little bit on the table that they wouldn't have previously?
I certainly think that can happen to players. My biggest question, Formal. He has been having an off tournament so far. When you look at stats-wise, he hasn't been hitting the same kind of numbers he was doing so at the World Championships. Is he now going to start to turn things up a bit as we get to the big games, the serious games, the ones that matter, that get you towards those grand finals, towards lifting another trophy? We need to see the big players step up now, because G1 is going to be a difficult task.
We need to see Formal in his final form. And on the other side, Bubu, Dubu and co. Can he roar them to victory? Can he drag them over the finish line against some of our heavyweights here? Shields up, weapons hot, we're underway.
I really do want to see Optic Gaming just take this game by the scruff of the neck, show G1 what they're made of, show the rest of the tournament what they're capable of. Have we just seen an Optic Gaming at 75%? Maybe not even that much. What happens if Optic are suddenly back at 100, back at 110? They want to strike fear into FaZe's eyes before they go into that potential grand final.
Falcated with the use of the Disruptor, frying the shields, frying the health of Formal. Camouflage will be gone then. 3 dead. APG last man standing. G1 move into that bottom middle hill. They have men situated over towards C plant to provide cover fire in the shape and the form of Suspector, who is doing just that now to suppress APG and force him backwards. Great early start from G1, great pressure applied, but can they sustain it?
I think pressure is important. I think confidence is going to be very important in this series as well for G1. Maybe not being too terrified about who they're playing against, but instead just focus on the task that's in hand, and that is just beating the 4 players that are across the way from you. Early on, it's looked okay for G1, but now when we start to see Optic gain a little bit of control, that's usually when they're at their very best. But APG will escape, but it's also listening to call-outs and making sure he can put some damage down as well.
And it's so important as Optic go 3 dead that G1 maintain this as all 4 go down. The perfect start for G1 to get a little bit of time on the board.
That's a great push off the spawn from G1, catching Optic Gaming a little bit unaware, and now Optic needs to do something similar. Elevator spawn means you have to go one of 2 directions. Do you force yourself through a chokehold, or do you try and go for a split? Send some players towards pipes, and now send some players towards control. Try and confuse your opponents a little bit so they don't know which way to look.
TriPPPeY drops out bottom middle. More in an act to survive and evade than it is to actually score some points. But if you're in there, you may as well do what you can. Almost completely even on the scoreboard and on the progress of this first hill. TriPPPeY lays the smackdown on the Suspector and slaps the taste out of his mouth before going down. 2-2 on the map now. Camouflage in the chest of Bubu Dubu. What can he do though?
Doesn't want to face this for too long, because then you leave yourself a little bit vulnerable, but thankfully it was a back down, and that meant that he is going to be able to now reposition, potentially do something here bottom middle, and as long as you're hitting your shots, you've done your job, you've got the kill. But now Optic will be a player up here and can start to gain some time. This first hill could be massive for momentum swing when we look at the rest of this game.
Slay's almost even here. Optic Gaming just shading it in progress on the hill. Position-wise, Lucid bottom middle, Plasma Pistol aimed up that mid-bridge, waiting for bubu dubu to step out of line, but 3 members go down for Optic. Lucid's last man standing. All 3 dropping the hill and clear him the hell out of there.
I mean, he might have been the MVP of the season, but he's not going to take 3 members of G1 down like that, just with a single battle rifle. They were so close, though, Optic Gaming. A slither needed now for that next point. So G1, they have to hold. They can't afford any mistakes here. But Optic Gaming, they're starting to send the waves. The hordes are coming. But it looks like G1 are holding, but no! Manages to get the beat down. Falcated, last remaining player, does not do it. And Formal gets the point secured for Optic Gaming. Looked a little bit dicey, but G1 just couldn't quite hold on.
Formal will fall. Damage done though. 1-0 in this game of King of the Hill on recharge. And as the hill has moved to long haul, typically an easier hill to hold than bottom middle would have been. Lucid on battle edge, and he's got vengeance on his mind as he looks towards C-plat. Formal over on 2 stacks. Lucid repositions here. Doesn't like where he is, a little bit disjointed, a little bit separated from his team, opting instead to head to sneaky. Camouflage, zipped into his chest. Beautiful movement from the MVP. Bubu dubu faces him up, misses a couple of shots. 3rd one hits just a little touch, but bubu dubu locks into.
Seems like a missed opportunity, but at the same time, Optic still get the 2nd point on the board, so it's job done. You did enough to distract the entirety of G1. And even though the shock rifle may not have hit, I think the job was certainly just to try and get G1 away from that hill. And now it's about trying to hold on once more. Optic in the right place at the right time to set up an elevator and make G1's life very difficult here.
2 down for G1. Suspector faced with a couple of players, but 2 members go down. This is better. Can they put some points on the board? Can they get some progress here? What's the hold like? Optic Gaming so far has played this just about as flawlessly as you can expect.
Considering it's pretty even on slays in the moment, actually there's only 1 kill difference in it between the 2 teams. You wouldn't really know it because it's already a 2-0 lead for Optic Gaming and they're looking to try and secure that 3rd. When it does come to slaying ability, G1 are actually only one of 2 teams where every player is positive with their KD so far this tournament. The other team is FaZe. However, Optic, they don't have that same merit. They don't have that same where all 4 players are currently plus, but that could change after this series.
And the question has to be asked, if they're level on slays, are they just not being as efficient with those kills?
They're not getting the right kills at the right time, but also Optic have been so solid with their structure when they're setting up. Again, this should be a 3rd point secured. G1 are just gonna leave this one, and there's 3 minutes remaining, Shurs, but at 3-0, Optic can now play this one in whichever way they want. They can go for hill number 4, or they can just start to play a little bit of a Slayer game, frustrate G1, and just force them out.
Bubu dubu goes down, as does Lucid. APG desperately trying to stay alive. Has done so successful for now. Camouflage has been scooped up. Formal was bottom middle trying to contest it. He failed though. TriPPPeY gets absolutely lit up by a disruptor and a battle rifle combination. Bubu dubu backs away to long haul. And semblance of control now for G1.
Still even on kills. You think if G1 could just start to maybe gain a little bit in terms of the kill traction here, start to get some momentum, then there's still an opportunity to get back into this game, but it's really the setups that have let them down. They haven't been able to be as strong as Optic Gaming, as it's going to be an easy double for Sab. Certainly could be more with assistance, doesn't need it in the end, because he doesn't get the triple, but that is going to be 3 dead for Optic Gaming.
Much, much better from G1. They can think about now, perhaps, the next hill. Optic Gaming look as though they're going to give this one up. Positioned over towards Turbine. 1 goes down, make it 2. G1 just starting to heat up, just making things work all of a sudden.
Yeah, they've got 4 more kills than Optic do. Make it 5 is another 4 dead for Optic Gaming. Now there is going to be split spawns. Optic are going to be just slowly trying to get back into this. Off the spawn, trying to gain a little bit of momentum as a 4 rather than having to push as a 1 or 2. But you can see G1, they're finding these solo players. They're able to take them down comfortably. And, you know, G1 still have an opportunity in this game. This is not over.
Last we mentioned the clock was 3 minutes. Still 2:42, 18 seconds have been lost in the progress of hill number 1. Definitely nowhere near out of the realms of possibility here. As Sab backs out of the hill for a moment, tries to clear his backside. APG lives expertly here around the pillar, bottom elevator as he desperately tries to press any sort of buttons that'll get himself out of trouble. Manages somehow to get a trade with the help of TriPPPeY.
These are the moments that Optic need to take advantage of, though, when G1 are just dipped out of that hill, try and deplete that clock a little bit. Because when we go back bottom middle, that's when things are going to get a little bit more tough for G1 to try and secure a point, because Optic can really set up to stop them being able to get any sort of time. But G1 are doing well here. Maybe Lucid can throw a little bit of a spanner in the works with the camouflage, though.
Wes said he hasn't seen Lucid have a single bad game all year, and he's not starting here and now. What can he do with the camouflage? As he tiptoes in with TriPPPeY, his long-time duo, Falcated down to half shields. Two members of G1 with their backs to the walls. Lucid wisely backs away, recognizes the last man standing.
Again, it's a 1 versus 4, a 1 versus X. Lucid's been left in the situation a few times now, and it's not really going to work out. Try as he might. G1 push through, G1 scoring still, and this second point should be going on the board. And Optic Gaming are just being flushed out. They're now about 13 kills down. G1 have taken control of this game, and it's starting to look a little bit worrying for the green wall.
And here is that bottom middle hill. It could be an absolute mosh pit at times. There'll be people swinging hooks, jabs, and uppercuts. Who's going to come out on top in this scramble?
G1 now up by 14 kills. They're in the ascendancy. They need one more point to tie this game up, and it's looking that way. Seems like the perfect time to jump into a listening. Let's see what they have to say.
We're still down,
Watch TriPPPeY.
Top red, one shot, TriPPPeY, and one dead HP.
Watch stacks.
Bottom main, really weak. Bottom main. Red never died, TriPPPeY.
I'm trying to repulse, so look.
Got one. Needles, Lucid. I'm looking at you guys. Top red.
Needles and top red, live.
Needles, live. Watch over you guys. One's going glass, TriPPPeY. We're good. 2 needles. He's going mango pit now.
Camo in 10. Camo in 10.
Turbine, now you got turbine. Looking glass.
Bottom egg.
What's neither?
Camo in 5.
Neither. Bottom egg, camo guys. Stack this. Someone stack it. I'm one shot. I can't stack it.
Watch out, bottom egg.
Yo, get camo. Lucid dropping. Just run. Neither. One guys, I can't move. Cat, one shot. One shot, formal. Bomb tower, kill me. I died with a combo repulse. I died by top tower. Yeah, and one's red. Jesse has camo. Keep living. One shot.
One shot, guys.
Watch out, this guy above you.
One stack.
APG.
One shot long.
Dead here.
One shot.
One shot, sure. Alright, we have a minute left. We have a minute, yeah. We have a slay. We just need a slay.
Need to clear out red.
Yeah. I'm not coming. That's one A. Top tower. Probably one here. I'm trying to come.
They know we're in pipes.
So G1 now against the clock, and I think they realize they need to just get that one more set of slays, and perhaps Optic is ripe for the picking here. If you can get over this hurdle, if you can get that 3-3, surely Optic would be deflated, but there's still a lot to do here. 30 seconds remain.
It's all about patience and composure now. G1, it's in their hands. Lucid set up on C-plat, stock rifle in hand. Can he shock a few skulls? Trades go around, 2 go down. This is the opportunity, but G1 lose another member in Suspector, and APG's looking to play Guardian. And he's done so successfully with the help of a teammate in Formal. 4 more seconds. Have G1 got anybody? Yes, they do. They're in the hill. But can they stay there? The answer's no. Falcated steps in, but it's too little too late. And APG ensures Optic Gaming take game 1.
Optic Gaming, who were outslayed in that game, who looked second best for large portions of that game, still were able to get the victory. The mentality of champions, something you will see happen a lot with the biggest and best teams throughout esports and sports. But for G1, that is frustrating, because you feel like you could have just about got there, but because they had that slow start, it really came to bite them in the backside.
Gave themselves a real uphill mountain to climb. Now as we look at the highlights, APG is always so influential for this Optic Gaming roster. And as we looked at some of the stats, Dan, as we were watching that game flow and we called for Formal to have a big game, he wasn't picking up the phone. We're getting an engaged tone.
It wasn't the best game for Formal, but at the same time, he was getting assists, he was still doing damage, and Like I said, if you can play badly as a squad and still win the game, that's going to bode well, because you're going to have your bad games now, and then later on you start to have your better games when perhaps you're going to need to get the nitty-gritty ones out of the way. For G1, I think they can take a lot of positives away from it, though. They were outslaying Optic for the majority of the game. It just really came down to running out of time. So next time they were to play a King of the Hill, they probably just need to move a little bit faster when it comes to a little bit of, their aggression in the early stages of the game.
G1 just needed to capitalize a little bit more when they had those slays. The pieces are there. They just need to put the puzzle together. And will this series get away from them here and now? Or do they have the chance to bounce back? Slayer, Imperium, Dan, talk to me.
Well, last time we saw Optic Gaming on Imperium was a 50-22 in their favor against Sentinel. So Optic definitely know how to take control here, but as we look to two incredible players who really can be the difference maker on these squads, Lucid and Suspector. I mean, at the moment, Lucid hasn't necessarily had the crazy stats that we saw at the World Championships, and maybe hasn't had that fire lit under him just yet. As for Suspector, though, he's been a standout player for this squad at HCS Charlotte, and I'm very excited to see it happen.
As we head over to Imperium Slayer and their records so far, 1-0 for Optic. You spoke about it, it was against Sentinels. 50-22, a stake, and we watched that game, Dan. It was dominant.
Yeah, if Optic could do the same thing that they did against Sentinels here, I do think that they have a real opportunity to just shut this series down immediately. G1 could be a little bit deflated if they go 2-0 down in the series, especially if it's a manner like we saw against Sentinels. However, we have seen G1 with a lot of success. On average, G1 have been winning this map about 50-41 so far this tournament. So they've been winning by a large enough margin. It's not going to be one of those games that's 1 or 2 kills in it like we've seen previously. I think we're going to see one team dominate here. I think you'd have to back Optic Gaming purely off what we've seen so far this tournament, but I'm still not going to count out G1.
Well, if game 1 is any indication of what's to come, G1 had absolutely no problem finding slays. But it was about when to push, when to pick your moments to go. Game 2 is underway, and Lucid's got the sniper rifle.
Oh, and he's already cooking. And those are the shots you need to hit to give your team the possibility of grabbing that overshield, to grab the rockets as he's still going. And he's going to go for the old T2 combo. It's snipe, it's rockets, and it's all the goodies, but a good teammate will give them away. Did T2 ever do that? That's the real question. That's what I want to know.
I don't think it was called the T2 combo because he passed them away. I think he liked to hold on to them and be a little bit of a power weapon himself, but Lucid positioned back base, eyes on the sword, and already this is something we've seen in the HCS so far. This game can slow down to a snail's pace.
Fun fact, I actually signed an autograph as Lucid last event, so I apologize whoever it was who came up to me and thought I was Lucid. I was unknowns to that until later on when I was told, but Lucid said he was happy to be compared to me, and I said you definitely shouldn't be, considering how good you are at this video game. But now, as it all is slowing down, 2-2, Rocket's going to be the hands of Formal. It's just a waiting game. It's about being patient, waiting for someone to just have that little bit of a peek round to green, and then once you get that first kill, that's when you start to push your advantage.
If I remember correctly, you also took a picture with somebody who thought you were a scum, so...
Apparently just Optic in general. I seem to be, a ringer, but we'll see whether one day they'll sign a contract.
As we turn our attentions back to the game, not much has happened. 2-2 the score. Lucid moving over the sword, touching up and linking up with his teammate Informal. Ops this time to back away though. Just trying to find the angles, thread the needle. But nobody on G1 is exposing themselves right now, and you can see them starting to move. It's gonna be a full man push. It looks like they're all heavily leaning over towards the sword side. Lucid puts down a denial grenade, trying to clear out the rocket cubby as well. Nobody in there this time. But this just goes to show you the respect between these two teams.
Yeah, plenty of movement now, a little bit of noise across the map. Perhaps we need the overshield to be popping before anyone's going to really commit to anything, or just an angle that maybe Lucid could take with this sniper rifle. This is when I kind of love this map, and when you do get these standoffs and you get 2 sniper rifles, because there's so much responsibility on the player who holds it to get that opening. But now with just 15 seconds for overshield and rockets to come up, this is when suddenly everyone needs to spring into action. This is when your kind of in-game leader needs to make the calls of where you're going, what are you focusing on.
Rocket's going to pop up. The old rocket's still over at sword, it looks like, in the hands of Formal. Just waiting for someone to step his way. But G1 have managed to force Lucid back. Sniper rifle will hit the body of Formal. That'll take away half of his shields. So much power on the map now. This next round of Slays could be pivotal.
Rocket on rocket action, but the overshield does work out in Formal's favor, and now he's just loaded up those rockets even more. He's got 2 more to utilize, and I think this could be when Optic start to press. Yes, as soon as you have broke through, Shurs, that's when you need to now be picking up these kills, so momentum will be on your side.
Broken through like Stone Cold Steve Austin through glass at the moment. 5 kills to 3. Suspector's all alone. Isolate needs help somehow. Scampers away. Bubu soars out and wins the 1v1.
Well, but the good thing that G1 have been able to hold on to that push, hold off that push, excuse me, and now it's just going to force Optic back all over again. Do we end up with yet another standoff? Still only 5-4 after almost 4 minutes that these two teams have been competing.
With all that power Optic had in their hands, they still find themselves locked level here. And now it's Suspector's turn to find one and line up APG as well. Teammate on hand to clean up the pieces. 7-7 now, but G1 starting to take control of the map.
Oh, but TriPPPeY responds with a headshot of his own. Lucid wasn't able to find the angles a little bit earlier on, but now TriPPPeY's got his chance to try and have a little peek round each corner as he's going to get brave down long haul. And perhaps someone's going to show for him. And actually, the more brave you can be, you can start to take a very commanding position here, get behind enemy lines and catch them off guard, because usually when you're hiding away from sniper rifles, you hide away from the angles on the opposition base rather than your own.
This map so far has been a real arm wrestle. Back and forth they go. That backstab that TriPPPeY has was good for 1. He's back under bridge now, back with his teammates with a 2-kill advantage and the sniper rifle with 2 bullets left in the magazine. Can the one in the chamber find the face of a member on G1? TriPPPeY hears somebody stomping around on training. That grenade will not connect as he holds top tower. 3 members of G1 in green, they're good for 1. Can they descend here? 1 goes down, make it 2. 3 dead for G1. And bubu tucks tail and runs down long haul.
I mean, it's a very brave play, I'll give them that, but with rockets coming up, you've just completely sacrificed them if it goes wrong. And Optic Gaming clean it up and say thank you very much. We'll pick up rockets, overshield as well, going in their favor. So now this is where the snowball syndrome starts to come into the equation. This is what I was a little bit worried about. As soon as one team starts to get all of these goodies and can start to take advantage of them.
While they have the goodies, while they're in the ascendancy, let's have a listen in and see how they're navigating things.
We're coming, Brad.
Courtyard as well.
Yeah, one shot. Two dead.
You down Mollard.
They're flying on Joey, very weak.
Nice.
Good.
Just keep being in noise.
You down Mollard. You down Mollard.
On me, Walshy killed me. He's full. You open now.
I have a sniper. Nice job. New sniper coming in 15, guys.
Bottom, old Libby. On me, their sword.
They're short now. Foul, get a weak.
Or foul. Getting pushed.
I'll see the one weak. They're short, weak, foul. And one's a trade too.
Behind us, core, I think.
Yeah, court weak, Jesse. Court weak, Jesse, half. I know. Our court weak. And one's up yellow, trying to push me. Nice. Our training partner
They have Obi, guys. They have Obi.
Again, our sword ramp.
No, green on me, absolute.
You dead right now?
Weak, Falcon under you. Sword nades.
That's 4. Snipers were up as well.
Nice, Tommy.
Nice job.
Watch their sniper.
I'm getting sword.
I'm gonna make a rogue play. I'm gonna try and go long.
I'm watching their snipe.
I'm just gonna play it with Brad.
He's
One's
in
in
there.
one right now.
He's in there to the left.
Yeah, you should left.
Watching the...
He went back to cuts with snipe.
Middle pit.
Get the shield if you want.
Alright, they have a sniper, careful.
I'm just gonna repulse anyone who comes to sword on me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo, they're top tower. They're top tower sniping.
The second one shot, Boo Boo.
They're cut sniping.
Watching green.
We got a minute for weapons.
Yeah, we're chill. Their sword foul. I think one's a green too.
Yep, backed up their sword nades.
You can get an angle on the guy's sword from our training. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
They know
where it is.
there's a guy there training.
Their sword up there. Green?
They're top tower still with the sniper, it looks
We're
like.
not watching our street right now. Keep that in mind. They could flank.
Heard that.
Still sniper. I might get pushed here, 1 second.
Yeah, bottom bridge right now. Jesse, one shot. Old OS, and one's on bridge pushing too.
Joey's dropping on him.
Yo, our street.
One shot Suspector, half our runway.
Nice, we got one. He came in.
Suspector.
Our street.
3 dead if we kill him.
Absolute on me.
Nice job, Matt.
Green.
Last guy. They're gonna play for Brad here.
You're good, Brad. I don't think he's pushing.
Alright, rockets in OS at 15.
I'm getting
He might have combo or something.
Alright, Joey has sword. We should play for OS here. We have
Okay, I heard
control.
that. I'll play down there, Joey.
Yo, one guy there street. They're street sniping.
They might play for this kill.
Go to the training.
Two in sword on me, guys.
They're playing sword heavy. right now. Watching your runway.
He has a sniper repulsor inside Heat Wave. He's sitting on our side, Tommy, our side. He's a repulsor still.
What are you doing?
Rescue sub. Nice, so she's
We can
out.
sword.
7 kill advantage then. Make it 6 after the listening. All the weapons to play with. Oh! But all of a sudden, G1 growing in confidence as they hung in there despite not having all the cookies and cream. TriPPPeY backs away. Another set of rockets in his hand. And every single time these weapons seem to pop up, it's Optic Gaming with their hands on.
Optic have done better at prioritizing and also timing their kills so that they can get the power weapons a little bit more comfortably. But perhaps G1 are going to learn a lesson from map number 1 and not leave it too late here. They're starting to notice the clock. They are starting to get a bit more aggressive. They have been the team that's trying to make, you know, the risky plays, although we did hear in the listening APG saying, hey, I'm going to try and make a play down long haul. It kind of worked out. He got an angle, he did some damage, and Optic were able to pick up a kill or two because of it. But it's still only 5 kills difference here. It's not like this is unattainable for G1. They could certainly get back into it. They just need that swing moment.
1 round of slaves is all that's required. But as Sav hits the respawn screen, and Optic Gaming close the vice, 3 fall for G1. Optic Gaming just doing a fantastic job at luring G1 in and claiming those kills.
Well, Optic play this so differently to some other teams that we've seen throughout this tournament as well. They're not really getting into the other side of the map. They're not really getting on their opposition tower. Instead, they kind of hold a halfway point and they say, look, you can come to us, we've got the lead, and then we'll just make sure we're watching angles together. And whilst this may be working right now, my worry would be, does it work out against a FaZe, for example, if that's who they end up playing? They still have a 9-kill lead. G1 are still going to be the ones who have to take the risks here and try and make something happen. And I wonder whether it will just be, you know, an overshield that goes into the hands, or perhaps the next set of rockets that will give them that swing. But every single time G1 try to make a play, Optic have had an answer.
Optic Gaming continue to hold their half of the map. Toll bridges set up. The price for admission is your life. 37 to 28 here. Just looking to suffocate G1 slowly.
This is the moment. This is G1's chance to get back into this game. New overshield, new rockets. Where are you situated? Looks like it's going to be overshield going to G1. Rockets, however, I think Formal was able to pick up. So G1 now need to try and assess how they want to approach this. Bubu's going to take tower, maybe try and get behind enemy lines. Does get the melee onto APG, so now this is the opening. You have to send it to a dead, but Formal, quite rightly, he will just go away here, make sure he can utilize these rockets to at least pick up a kill or two.
Heads up play from Formal, recognizing he lost APG top tower and the push was coming. Runs away to green, picks up a couple of kills in the backstab and relieves the pressure.
Yeah, you just don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to getting shot in the back, you know, assassinated, and then suddenly you give away to rockets. There's Formal. Well, it looks like he is starting to heat up, and we're starting to see the Formal that we saw at the World Championships now. As Optic Gaming still have a 13-kill lead, as G1 will start to look at that clock. It's only 1 minute and 9 seconds left, and they've got to try and get a big deficit going their way.
It's been T2P so far. 5 kills required with 1 minute left on the clock. Sab on training, trying to do as much as he can to help Bubu Dubu on runway, but it's not going to be enough. 2 members of Optic down to no shield, but nobody there to pick up the pieces. And instead, they require 1.
Yeah, G1 I think just kind of know now they don't have the time, so they're just sending themselves in like lambs to the slaughter as Optic Gaming take game number 2 in this series. It's not your traditional way of playing Imperium Slayer, but it certainly worked out for them on that occasion. G1 did not have an answer. Every play in the book was made by G1, but Optic, they always had an answer for it.
Can G1 take confidence from that? They hung on in there despite having very little of the power weapons, despite being able to control much of the game. But every single time, like you said, they were the ones trying to push the pace. But they paid for it time and time again. And is that a learning experience for them?
Of course, everything's going to be a learning experience for G1 going up against, you know, the best team in the world right now, the World Championship winning squad. This is what Optic did for an entire year, frustrated their opponents with just pure structure, strategy, knowing exactly how they wanted to implement that on every single map to take down their opponents. And G1 watched that game just go by. They watched that clock tick down as they just couldn't break through over and over again, even though they fought as they might to try and get an overshield, to try and get a rocket. Even when they did get the overshield, Formal's still a nuisance, still getting the rockets and still getting the kills.
That's games 1 and 2, where Optic have used the clock as an ally. We've seen it in the King of the Hill game, excuse me, where they got a 3-0 lead and were happy to just play time. Again, Slayer Empyrean, they laid the traps, and G1 just kept on walking on in.
And I'd say the first 3 game types in this series, you can play the clock on every single one. So you could say Optic could just do this again on Argyle CTF. How many times do we see Argyle CTF actually go all the way where everyone gets every flag? No, it's usually a 1-0 or maybe a 2-1. If you're lucky, you get that one flag done, and then you lock it down. You just don't allow the other team to get into the game, and that's what Optic did on Empyrean, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try and do the same here on Argyle CTF.
Now with Argyle coming up next, Dan, and you being my resident stat man, talk to me, what can we expect here?
Well, Optic did lose to Sentinels on this game type. It wasn't necessarily the best of showings for them when we were talking about a new map being available. Maybe that could be what G1 can take away from this, right? We saw G1 beat Believe the Hype on on Argyle CTF. So maybe they're a little bit more well-versed. Maybe they're a little bit more well-practiced. Maybe it suits their playstyle a little extra. But again, I'll go back to the fact that as soon as Optic lose something, they go back, they work on it, they find out why it's gone wrong. So maybe it could be the detriment to G1 that Optic have already lost this once, because now they're just gonna come back bigger, better, stronger.
Our Optic Gaming just about to tie their boot and punt G1 down to the elimination bracket. One more game is all they need, and they can do it over this one or a further 2. G1 backs to the walls, on the ropes, and they're reeling right now.
And remember, waiting in that winners final is FaZe. The FaZe versus Optic match that I think everyone was expecting, the 1 and 2 seeds. G1 will still look to try and change that script. There is still time, but it has to start here, has to start now. It's Argyle CTF, as TriPPPeY's gonna take the repulsor, and he says, you know what, I'll walk straight up the middle of the map, and I'll get an angle on you guys.
A couple of grenades go down, one in the vent. Handles Falcated on the pistol. With the help of Lucid, Suspector will go down. Perfect start for the green wall here. 3 dead, but a snipe shot from way deep. Connects from bubu dubu, but is that only going to slow the flag down?
APG on the move with it. APG taking the responsibility, can't quite get hold of the pole, so instead is going to have to back off. And bubu dubu just having his presence here with a sniper rifle, just hitting that shot, would have given Optic Gaming just that sense of doubt of going, okay, we can't really run this flag until we find Jesse here, until we find bubu dubu.
TriPPPeY goes soaring in, trying to dispossess bubu dubu of the sniper rifle, but APG has finally got moving with that flag, made it all the way back to his elbow. Just needs to slam it home here. 2 members of G1 positioned over towards the pistol, looking to move towards cuts now and just narrow that angle. APG's happy to fight it. Teammate on hand to pick it up, and Formal slams it home.
Formal was just like, move aside, buddy. I'll grab it. APG, what are you waiting for? Let's just punch this one home. Let's get this series done. Let's start to think about that winners final. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit cautious. You're worried that if you commit too heavily to it, then you give the opportunity in the opening for G1 to maybe get a counter of some sort. But now with this 1-0 lead, Jersey, this is where Optic can play exactly the same way they've done in games 1 and 2. They can use the clock to their advantage if they choose to do so.
It was 2 dead apiece for a moment. Lucid heads up, top flag, secures the grapple, uses 2 of them just to get to the halfway point of the map, tries to clear Suspector out of the vent, tries to cut off the oxygen up there. Falcade gets handled, camouflage, get over here!
Literally flying through the map, and so aware is Lucid as well, always prepared, always seems like he's 1 step ahead from the competition at times. Knew exactly where the next opponent was gonna be. It's another perfect for him as well. 2 are dead on the side of Optic, so Lucid will just try and survive, but he walks him right into the bullet of APG. And now Optic force G1 to start making plays. They say, what have you got? Look, we've got our flag, you can come to us.
G1 are set up and they're trying to push the side that 2 sniper rifles are holding. Lucid gets away after initially being taken down to just 1 shot. As he repositions now to coils. Scoops up a couple of plasma grenades on his way. Eyes trained on the flag. Bubu fires a couple of shots from the basement, and Lucid again seems to escape. Again seems to evade the attentions of G1.
He is very crafty, is Sir Lucid. Always seems to have a way out, always knows the avenue of exit. And if you suddenly add a sniper rifle, if you add a repulsor, if you add a grapple to that equation, he just becomes more slippery. Does get the trade, Formal will fall, and now G1 have an extra player, Suspector with the sniper rifle. Someone needs to step up here on G1. We need to see a big play, some sort of clutch, double, triple, to give them that big oomph, that belief in this game. But unfortunately, it's Optic Gaming the ones who are getting the oomphs.
And if we're handing out knighthoods to Lucid, APG has got to be on that list. What a veteran he is, the experience he has. And with sniper rifle in his hands, you can trust him with your life. I might even try and drop off my dog. He seems to be very respectful in that manner. We've seen his dog, not only at Orlando, but we would have loved to see him at Worlds as well.
I'm not sure he's offering a daycare service as well as looking after the rest of his team, but I'll let you try and assess that one yourself. 7 minutes and 45 left. Still plenty of time here for G1. Camouflage again for Lucid, and once more he's just zipping toward the competition. And it has slowed down a little bit. Oh my goodness gracious!
What was that? It slowed down for a minute. APG says no, no, no. Killing spree, double kill. And you can see him eyeing up that fresh sniper rifle. Like a magpie to a shiny thing. He wants to get close to it. It's luring him in, like Smeagol to the ring.
Well, TriPPPeY and APG both have snipers, so this is bad news for G1. Any angle you step out, any route you try and take, there's going to be someone watching you with a sniper, and it's pretty terrifying. It's like some sort of horror film right now. APG luring him, waiting around the corner, and again he connects. APG not missing right now.
TriPPPeY took the precious. That's what happened there. APG wants to get back to it. Dubu almost gets his visor ripped clean off as he comes soaring in to finish the job. Is this the moment? Is this the opportunity? The answer seems to be no. The
grapple really does change the timings of things as well. He probably thought he was safe, APG, there. You know, he had the shot, he saw where bubu was as 4 go down for G1. But then because of the grapple, bubu was in his face instantly, and that's what you've got to be able to realize in Halo Infinite, is how quickly people can just project themselves across the map and get in your face.
He did try and throw that grenade down. Just missed the timing, like you speak of. TriPPPeY, though, in vent. Pulse carbine in hand. This can shred the shields like white spirits on paint. Now flags on the move, flags being pulled. TriPPPeY's recognizing that, putting down some fire. Bubu just about escapes away. Camouflage scooped up by TriPPPeY. Expertly done this time. With 5 minutes and 50 on the clock. Can Optic shut out G1 here?
And again, you saw G1 trying to force it, right? They tried to force a flag there, just wanted to get a desperate pull because I think they're feeling a little bit frustrated, similar to the first couple of games, but now it's going to be TriPPPeY's turn to be a nuisance behind enemy lines, and this is purely a distraction technique. He saw 2 of his teammates gone down, so he said, what's the best way to lure some people back home?
He lured Sab all the way home and lured him straight to his death. Throws flag down towards screens, but it just drops down to Fusion. As he moves the flag now just past lights. Is there anybody on G1 there to make the stop as he heads down, bottom cuts, enters the basement, flag gets sent home, 2 dead here. He's not home and hosed just yet, and he recognizes that immediately as he drops the flag and opts the play Slayer. Sab pulls the flag out, but has he got enough shields to take this fight as TriPPPeY soars at him and scoops it up once more. 3 dead for G1. And TriPPPeY tiptoes his way back towards the flag. 2-0 to the green wall.
And that might just be a little bit too much for G1 to come back from, and it was all stemming from TriPPPeY's camo play. It was a 2 versus 4. Grabs the flag, lures members back, wins the engagement, and then just keeps going. He just watched the battle unfold in his base and said, well, if no one's going to stop me, I'll keep this one rolling. And then it was just a matter of spawns being closer for Optic Gaming after that point. 4 minutes left for G1 to really show us what they're made of. So many times we've seen G1 go up against one of these top 3 teams and just not be able to break through. I know this is a new G1 roster, but the organization I'm talking about with bubu on board. And I felt like it was going to be a little bit different this tournament. I thought that G1 maybe could really shake things up in this game in particular. But it seems like Optic are a little bit more polished now we get to the later stages of the tournament.
This series, this game have been so comfortable. So comfortable, in fact. I wonder if Formal's comms have slowed down just a touch. Well, let's have a listen in and find out.
Two absolutes are main in their main. Our main in their main.
Flag now. Pulling now.
Our main.
Going E. Nice job. We got a pick here.
Somebody's gonna stop the flag guy.
He's not running it yet. He just goes
One's running it.
Nice. Copy. 2 dead.
Pistol weak. Our main weak Jesse.
Flag.
Our main weak Jesse. Really weak our main.
Hear that?
Sniping and then one's on flag.
Absolute. Jesse.
There's a guy there.
Sniping elbow.
Try and get our angle on bad.
Nice. 2 dead.
One screens on me.
It's
Screens on me.
Sav.
Make sure we get the three.
Suspector.
Screen.
One shot. 3 dead. 3 dead.
Flag.
I'm here, Brad. I'm here.
Thanks, Tommy.
I'm pulling the shot. Grapple. One shot grapple.
We have help.
Pulling it easy. Pulling it easy.
One shot foul. One shot back flag, left side.
Nice shit, Tommy.
Last guy.
You guys want elbow or?
Yeah, they are. They're elbow.
Yeah, already there.
Close, they're
Careful.
playing close.
Elbow right now.
You're gonna flank 2 or are you 1 bomb?
Absolute, guys. I'm absolute.
Bottom mid on coils, guys, on coils.
There's elbow right now.
Pistol right now.
Sniper's down, guys. Sniper's down. S2.
Your screen, S2 right now, foul.
We're gonna get read. We don't know where we're
Okay, that's fine.
Hide our right.
Already got it. He's a sniper watching you, Brad. Don't poke that.
Make them work for this pull.
Yep. We can go E1, guys. If we need to go anywhere, we can go E1.
Well, we got our answer. The comms didn't slow down even a little bit, Dan.
In fact, very hectic comms. Slightly surprised. I think that just shows how much this means to Optic Gaming, how important it is. They do make a statement here, and they make this a 3-0. So they go into that winners finals against FaZe and say, look, we are the real deal. We are the world champions, and you should be fearing us going into that series.
I wonder if they're a little bit miffed by this. Well, the fact that they've come in here and everyone's talking about FaZe being this God squad, this top roster that's going to walk in here and win the tournament. Optic Gaming are still here. They're still the kings.
Put some respect on their name. I think that they quite have the right to be miffed, right? Because we should be talking about Optic. They are the world champions. But it was exactly what Onset was talking about on the desk. It's exactly what we've been bringing up. When you are the world champions, you will have a target on your back. People will have studied the footage. Maybe some of the benefits of playing a map like Argo is there's not as much footage to study. And G1 haven't been able to find a way to break through. They've only pulled a flag a couple of times and they were shut down immediately. The defense from Optic Gaming has been somewhat flawless here.
Talked about in game 1 in the objective game type, the slays, Dan, and how G1 had been getting the better of it. But right now, 61 to Optic, 47 to G1. As they continue to add more to the kills column, and they're just running the clock down now, happy to play time.
I'll tell you one thing, every member of Optic Gaming is comfortable with a sniper rifle in their hands, and that really bodes well for a season where we have more maps that have snipers on them, double snipers as well, with Empyrean and Argo here. I was saying how it benefits the likes of FaZe, because Frosty is so good with it. Oh, but Formal showing us that he can get a counter snipe, and he can maybe be the one to go toe-to-toe with Frosty in those winners finals.
Formal trying to sell head and shoulders, blowing dandruff off Spartans' heads. 40 seconds remain then before Optic Gaming tie a bow on what has been a near flawless game and a near flawless series here. And G1 had them on the back foot in moments, but didn't keep it consistent and couldn't maintain the pressure.
I think G1 were the better team in map number 1. I really do. They just were a little bit slow out of the blocks and weren't able to have that structure on King of the Hill. But now it looks like time is against them once more, even though they're getting the kills here. There's only 10 seconds left.
And with 6 seconds remaining, absolutely no time for G1 to do a damn thing about this series outcome. It's Optic Gaming with the clean sweep, and they're going to the winners finals.
The stage is set. It's Optic Gaming. It's FaZe. It's exactly what everyone expected in this tournament. And both teams go into that game, to that series, looking incredible. FaZe will certainly have one little look over their shoulder and say, okay, we see you, Optic Gaming. We see what you are capable of. And tomorrow we are going to witness one of the best winners finals I think we've seen in quite some time here in Halo Infinite.
They continue to rule with an iron fist, not shaking one bit in what could have been, what should have been a tricky series, and they made it look easy.
As for G1, it maybe wasn't the series they expected. It wasn't their big shot at trying to take down one of these top 3 teams, but they're still at the moment in the top 6. They're still in that shout for top 4, which would be a fantastic achievement. If you're in the top 4 with the likes of FaZe, Space Station, and Optic Gaming, then I think you've done something right coming into this tournament. But for now, it's going to have to be an elimination bracket run. As for Optic Gaming, it looked pretty flawless at times. There were moments where I was a little bit worried, but even if you're playing a little bit sloppy and you're getting over the final hurdle there with a 3-0 victory, I don't think there's anything to worry about.
Well, Wes spoke about it for G1, right? They kept swinging, they kept missing, and again, they didn't lay a glove on Optic. And we have Blaze on the stage with Lucid with a little interview for us.